Hi friends, how's it going? We are back here again at the esteemed OPEX Gatwick with a little bit more of a vlog style video today. Bit of an insight into my own training. I'm doing a whole body session today. And as always, when your body is held together by blue tack and sellotape and grit, as mine is, got to start with a little bit of rolling out. Rolling out done. I'm in this weird mindset right now with warm-ups that I find warm-ups generally so flipping boring that I just dread them, and then I've started to avoid them a little bit, or at least cut down, and lo and behold, my pec tendons hurting, my hamstrings, my Achilles. Well, my Achilles are barely there anyway. I think I left them somewhere in Austria. So what I'm trying to do now to mix it up, because I am enjoying kind of different kind of CrossFit style workouts at the moment, I'm almost doing like a CrossFit WOD, but only for about 6-7 minutes, super low intensity, like 50-60%, and basically using that as my warm-up. And I literally just search something on the day, and then it basically just takes away a little bit of extra kind of decision fatigue, because I'm still writing my own programs at the moment, and then the warm-up's done. And I just find that a lot more palatable than trying to like overly prescribe something of this number of minutes on the bike, and then these stretches and whatever. And there's a quite nice thing, I'm 33 now, and there's something kind of pleasant about a little bit of novelty within the warm-up. Warm-ups for me are so flipping repetitive. And again, it's just like this whole process has got to be fun, right? So working out, training, I love this stuff, but if something, I'm trying to kind of decrease the friction as much as possible. And for me right now, the highest part of the friction is a 10, 15, 20 minute warm up. I don't mind the sprint drills. I don't mind the other kind of the plyos, the primers and stuff, but just that general warming phase, if you're feeling a little bit stiff, just feels so unbelievably boring. So if there's a way that I can make sure the friction on that goes down, I'm aware that it's kind of important to step outside your comfort zone, but there's no point struggling with this crap for no reason. So I'm gonna check it out on WOD Roulette now, and then we're gonna work something out. Here we go, guys, and the warm-up is ready. We're gonna start off with a 200-meter run on the curve runner just over there. We're then gonna do 15 wall balls, and the targets are just behind you, the viewers, on the wall. 8 burpees, and then 12 toes to bar. Got all the kit for that up here, nice and simple, and we are then gonna do that 3 rounds. And again, it's just that for me is an appropriate amount of time that I feel as though I would get warmed up. It's probably gonna be anywhere between kind of 5 and 8 minutes, because I'm gonna go super slow, super chilled, and then just kind of ascend the speed, increase the speed as the rounds go. But the fact that I didn't know I was doing this until a minute ago, this seems a lot more fun, and again, a lot more palatable. And if there is a way that you can decrease kind of the intellectual and emotional friction with training and make it easier and make it more fun and enjoyable, flipping heck, man, that's got to be part of it, right? That's got to be part of the process. So let's get cracking with that now. Spicy little kind of pseudo warm up there. Yeah, tried to kind of slowly increase the pace over the 3 rounds. I don't know whether or not that worked, or whether or not I just kind of kept equal level of slowness pretty much throughout, really. So now what I'm going to do is a couple of little sprint drills, as I like to do those anyway. Some kind of quick, speedy lunges, some dynamic, almost like ballistic hamstring work that just kind of gets me primed and feeling powerful. Some quick high knees, and then I might chuck in a couple of cheeky box jumps, as we are lucky enough to have them. I moved them slightly further away from the window. Not that I'm getting anywhere near the top, but better safe than sorry. What's going on, team? We're back downstairs in OPEX Gatwick now, and the whole body session is written out, so I'm gonna walk you through this quickly. So this is kind of a quick insight into my training. I didn't end up doing box jumps upstairs, as you've just seen, because they weren't featured. I just want to look after my hip, and a couple of times I've had a little bit of an impingement from the speed. So what I'm doing is I'm basically saving it for this. So I'm going to do 3 heavy box squats. If you've seen some of my videos recently, you'll know that I am taking a step back from conventional squats. I've just got long femurs, quite narrow joints. The way that kind of the head of the femur sits in my pelvis, I am not built to squat. When I sat down and interviewed 2-time Olympian, soon to be 3-time Olympian Ben Simons, he kind of corroborated that. He was like, it's an intro move in the fitness industry, but it's not. It's incredibly advanced, a barbell back squat, and not everyone should be doing it if they're not built for it. But just replacing kind of the bounce at the bottom with box squat seems to help me. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. So I'm gonna work my way up to a heavy 3, and then I'm gonna be doing some power cleans alongside that. And if you see in brackets, that's PAP. I know I did a video on this recently, a couple of months back. And this is something, PAP is a physiological principle called post-activation potentiation. It's the idea that if you do something under massive amounts of load, so a super heavy, as an example, if you're gonna do a super heavy deadlift or super heavy kind of RDL, that massive amount of load you've got going through kind of the extension of the hips, about 2 minutes after that, everything's firing so quickly because you've just overcome all of that resistance. You can effectively replicate or duplicate the same movement really, really explosively. So if you take the weight away, so as an example, if you did a trap, like some super heavy like trap bar deadlifts or trap bar deadlift jumps, and then did a box jump, that's an example. Super heavy deadlifts and then a broad jump, that's another example. So I'm gonna see how I get on with my power cleans today and just see whether or not that last bit of hip extension feels nice and snappy, having literally been 90 seconds after a super heavy box squat. Then I'm gonna do some lunges, just some step back lunges, 5 each side, and then some banded high push. Really, really big fan of banded work with anything when it comes to glutes, because that little bit of extension from there to there, we've got so much more potential. So if we're only ever basically doing this with a certain amount of load that we can also be down at that angle for, we're decreasing the amount of actual training work and load and intensity that we can get a benefit from doing that top end. That's why I like banded stuff, because obviously the bands get tighter and tighter, which means you're overcoming more and more resistance. Natural strength curve for pretty much everything I'm a big fan of actually, but especially with anything glute wise. So I do 3 rounds of that, and then I'm gonna do some weighted dips, some heavy dips at 4, and then 2 rope climbs after that. Boom, a little bit lower body. Well, mostly lower body because I did upper body yesterday, but still a little bit of upper body. Take advantage of the fact that we've got the rope here. And then we'll be doing some strongman and conditioning stuff upstairs. But for now, got some stuff to be cracking on with. 3 rounds, box squats done at 170, and just a nice simple 100 on the cleans. It's feeling pretty good. Box squats, again, they are nowhere near parallel really right now for me. Like I said in one of my, in my most recent monthly favorites video, the simple kind of change of just going slightly above parallel just has my hip joint different. Doesn't matter how mobile I get my kind of, my rectors or my QL in my back. It just seems to always, you know, just cause flipping damage over time. If I properly barbell back squat more than once a week, I'm just in the bin for days at a time. Which again, like I try to kind of proactively communicate to you guys, what's the flipping point of that? This whole thing here, this whole kind of process of training, of working out, of getting fitter, I understand. This is one thing that I was kind of hoping to share with you guys today. I understand if sometimes it feels like a means to an end, and we're always gonna have days or, you know, even a week or a couple of weeks, a period of time where we just have to kind of grind through. We just have to put ourselves in kind of autopilot and just get the work done. But if that continues, then something has to change. I like feeling healthy and mobile and able-bodied, and I like having a physique that is at least kind of 10% of what it was when I was in my 20s. But at the same time, I wouldn't commit to, you know, 6-7 hours plus a week of working out just for that end goal if I didn't enjoy that particular 7-hour process as well. I have to engage in a process and a protocol of training that is fun and enjoyable and kind of, you know, exciting for me. It doesn't always have to be rubbish. I get that sometimes it's gonna feel like that, but I just feel as though, you know, there are a lot of parallels between the kind of the entrepreneurial world and the fitness world at the moment where they glorify suffering. And it was like, no, you know, when it's rubbish, you've just got to keep pushing through. And I get that in essence for short periods of time, but if that continues, maybe you're just not enjoying that kind of training anymore and need to keep yourself healthy, mobile, able-bodied, you know, fit with a decent engine, you know, good quality physique. Maybe you need to achieve those goals through a different way. That's the great thing. Fitness, there's so much flipping knowledge out there now. Pretty much anything you do is gonna work towards at least a couple of those objectives. So that is one thing that I just absolutely want to emphasize. Do not forget to just check in with yourself now and again and make sure that you're actually still enjoying this process. And if not, do not fear, but do take action to change it, mess around with a couple of different things. That's what, and I'm a novelty seeker, right? And that's what came up on my my neurotype test, kind of classic type 1B, which basically means I just need new stuff all the time, which is why I go through phases where I have like a strongman style phase, and then more of a kind of a heavy engine-based, cardio-based functional fitness phase, then a bit of functional bodybuilding, and then kind of just like slalom through those. And I'm absolutely fine with the fact that I'm not going to achieve the top 1% in any of them. But for me, the amount of flipping man hours of my life that I invest in the gym means that I have made the decision now, a personal standard for myself, that it has to be something that's actually enjoyable. And I appreciate the fact that like doing a job that you enjoy, there are always going to be days that are crap, right? But to a point, you need to be able to reassess and go, actually, this particular way might not be serving me. So that's what I encourage all of you to do. Be self-aware enough to regularly check in and see whether or not what you're doing in the gym is still enjoyable for you. And if it's not, that's the great news. There's a million other things that you can mess around with, that you can try. And even if you only do that for a month and then go back to what you were doing, maybe that's just enough of a stopgap to make what you are doing now fun again. Lunges and banded hypers in the bag. Again, big fan of this stuff at the moment, and always been a massive fan of unilateral stuff. Lunges for me are just something that again seems to work better for my hips, because I'm nowhere near as kind of like tilted forwards, I'm nowhere near as hinged forwards. And the banded hypers, they're just so flipping good for your glutes, especially when you double up the green band, like you can see behind me, and it just seems to work so well for literally that last kind of like 10-15 degrees of contraction for the glutes. Mwah, absolutely spot on. Now onto a little bit of upper body. Let's go. What's going on, team? So I'm halfway through. Well, just over halfway through. I've done 2 sets of weighted dips and rope climbs. About to do my final one. And today, ironically, with me attempting to kind of communicate to you guys, you've got to be willing to make sure that you reassess and do the stuff that you enjoy. And that is what I'm doing at the moment, these kind of whole body sessions that are strength-based in terms of rep range, but keeping the rest low, so there's still a little bit of metabolic effects in there as well. This is the stuff, luckily, that I love. The downside is that today, I'm flipping exhausted, man. So that actually lends itself quite well, because this is 100% authentic. I'm not just doing kind of 1 set and 3 reps of each exercise or whatever for demo purposes and B-roll and stuff. I am doing the session that was mapped out, as you guys saw earlier. And today I'm just struggling. I've cut out caffeine for a couple of days, literally like 3 days, and I'm flipping struggling already. I actually don't get headaches whenever I do this. I just feel a little bit exhausted. Precision of speech. I feel like I'm slurring my words, like I'm drunk, which I'm not. It's only 5:30, don't judge me. And guys, that kind of luckily leads me into the second thing that I was going to talk to you guys about today and share with you in regards to my journey. And obviously we spoke about kind of what your training is, the stuff that you are doing in your program, and making sure that you reassess and going, is this still serving me, not just for gains and results, but am I enjoying the process? And actually enjoying the process as a hell of a lot higher on your priority list than a lot of people currently have it as, right? So that was the first thing that we spoke about earlier. The second thing is basically becoming self-aware enough to know what you need to do to make sure that you get the most out of your training. For me, as I said earlier, I'm a novelty seeker. So I've been a member at the gym I'm at the moment, just Pure Gym in East Grinstead, because it is just so unbelievably convenient for me, for probably kind of 18 months, 2 years now. And that's the longest I've ever been a member of a gym in one go, ever. And normally I kind of change gyms between roughly every 6 to 9 months. And that is a demonstration of me being self-aware enough to know that a change of scenery, new people, new stimulus, new music, different levels of light, different kit, all of those weird things that a lot of people wouldn't really care about. I know for me, that's a big deal, and having that change of scenery and change of environment is just enough of kind of a stimulus to give me a little bit of injection of kind of motivation again. I'm not saying that's what you should do, just saying that as a bigger example, that's an example from me of a bigger kind of topic and subject, which is become self-aware of what you need to make training the most effective for you, whether it's a certain playlist, whether or not it's, you know, you like to talk to people, whether or not it's doing something just before, is it a certain time of day? Is it something that, you know, do you like actually to be in a little bit of a rush so that you've got kind of, you haven't got time on your side, so you need a bit of urgency so you get your session done quicker? Does that, or is that too much and it stresses you out and you like a little bit of a slower, kind of a slow approach to it? Whatever it may be, none of these things are right or wrong, but just have a think about the environment that you work out in, as well as the stuff that you do. Kind of where and how you do it is also relevant. And that, I think, is just, again, both of those things, in my opinion, are just unbelievably underrated and they're just not really spoken about. No one really seems to talk about the fact that enjoying the way that you train should be a metric of success that is much higher on your list of priorities. And equally, I don't feel as though as many, myself included, and as many of my kind of colleagues and associates in the fitness industry in the UK are talking about the fact that these tiny little nuances of change of how you do your training, whether or not, again, there's a certain kind of music you listen to on the way to the gym, you know, when do you start listening to some more motivational stuff or high tempo stuff, or do you prefer podcasts or audiobooks or whatever? Some of that stuff is investigated, but very few people, in my opinion, actually sit down and say, okay, what is it? And almost like write a list. What would I need to do to you know, put in my environment, to create the environment that I train in, to make sure that I get as much out of it as possible? Just something I thought I'd share with you lovely people. That is enough of a break for me. I'm not out of breath anymore, which is not the way I like to train. So I'm gonna finish off with my last couple of sets of dips and rope climbs. Let's go. And dips and rope climbs are complete. So that is basically the main kind of lower body and main upper body sections of the session done. Heading back upstairs to the cardio area for a little bit of strongman cardio stuff. Let's see what awaits us. Team are back upstairs. I have worked out what I'm gonna do for the second part of today's session. Guys, I'm an extrovert. This is what I was trying to say a minute ago. I have been struggling by the fact that I'm here on my own. And Harry Nichols, love you girl, missed my training partner. Haven't really trained with her much in the last week. Don't know why, scheduling, let's say that, don't know. But yeah, I've been training on my own for a week and I'm already starting to feel this weird dip in just the level of kind of like intensity that I train with. So again, that links very, very closely with what I was saying to you guys a minute ago. Be self-aware as to what you need. For me, what I need regular exposure to training in a group of people of kind of like a similar ability, and that just keeps me on my toes. If I don't have that for, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks, I just feel the intensity of everything I'm doing, everything I'm kind of executing in the gym, it just starts to drop. So that for me, that is an example of how I kind of execute that level of self-awareness and a bit of humility. I'm not that good at self-leadership for long periods of time. I said it, humbling as it may be. Back to today's session. Boom, we have sled push and pull, which I'm a big fan of. Just one of the kind of foundations of human performance, I think. And then I'm gonna do some DB HKA press. You all know what that means, don't you? Let me walk you through it. So that's dumbbell half kneeling Arnold press. So down in kind of a half kneeling position. So one knee on the ground, 1 foot on the ground, and then one dumbbell and effectively Arnold contralaterally. Whichever leg is forward and up, it is the other side, the other arm that is working. So bring it in, so palms facing you at the bottom, and then extend overhead with palm facing away. So that is what I'm gonna do. I have 2 push and pulls, and then 8 each side for the dumbbells. I'm basically gonna do 3 rounds of that, keeping the rest as low as possible. It's kind of a fine balance between, this isn't really the cardio portion of the session. It's kind of that mid-level between a little bit of like functional hypertrophy, functional strongman conditioning, and cardio stuff. So you want to be a little bit out of breath, but you don't want to start and have your technique just completely rubbish and you're super slow. So there's a little bit of kind of like self-management and working out how long you need as a break. But let's get cracking with those, shall we? Flipping neck, sleds, and shoulder press done. The shoulder press, surprisingly cheeky when you're really, really, really out of breath and trying to stabilize the torso in an upright position. And your diaphragm is going flipping ballistic, telling you to put the dumbbell down and you're breathing like you've been shot in the lung. Winner, winner. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna finish off with a couple of little sprints on the curve runner. I don't have a set number of these, I'll probably do 4 or 5. And basically, you can't do true acceleration work on these things like you can out on the road or on flat or even up a hill, but they are significantly better than a treadmill for that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some low drop and drive work, probably, 100 meters-ish, short break, and the balance is very, very similar to what I said with the sleds, in that you wanna be out of breath when you start, but you don't wanna be so in the bin that you're unable to remotely hold decent form. It's just that kind of middle ground, and that's what I'm doing for this. This is cardio, obviously, but I still want to work on some form, get some sprint stuff in. Let's get cracking! And that's a wrap, boys and girls of YouTube. Flipping heck, man, that felt pretty disgusting. For the strength bit downstairs, just didn't feel motivated. I just looking into space, just felt a bit bloody out of it, but kind of picked up as soon as I came up here, actually, and I did. Maybe that's an indicator that I'm not loving barbell stuff right now, but I am loving the kind of the strongman conditioning. Who knows? But about 90 minutes in the bag, good. Solid, full body, all systems done and ticked off. If you did enjoy this kind of video, guys, please do put it down in the comment section below. If you've got any ideas, any suggestions or kind of requests of anything else that you would like featured, either kind of investigated or my viewpoint or perspective on certain topics, or whether or not you just want to kind of continue with this slightly less polished training vlog style of things, and just a little bit of an insight into what I'm doing and how I attempt to kind of keep my body together, then just let me know. Have an amazing day, guys, whenever and wherever you are. Beautiful people of YouTube. See you soon.